Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Fiesel, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, beginning at 1 p.m. Central, as we get to ride home with each other. You can find us on the radio at IC Radio, stands for In Christ Radio, where we are Fox News affiliates. You may also find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications and Abundant Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Don't forget the podcast on thenewscasters.com, where you'll always find out the truth. And I'll tell you what, I really love this podcast because I can actually say things my wonderful guest can say things without the worry of being taken down. You know, that's happened a lot. I don't know how many times on Facebook. I wear it as a badge of honor to be taken down from Facebook and YouTube. So anyway, we still have a platform, and you can hear all kinds of awesome talk show hosts like this one right here. Gunny is on the show with me. He has his own podcast. And so it's just really all you got to do is download the app. It's really simple, really easy to use. The Newscasters Studio is what you're looking at. But anyway, Gunny, thank you so much for being on the show with me today.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Donna. It's always a pleasure to talk the truth.
My honor. I love Patriots to come on my show because, you're the smartest ones of the whole group. You put me in a room full of people, I'm going to choose the Patriot every time.
Absolutely. Patriot cause. That's what I'm here for.
Then you've got your own podcast. Now, when can folks see you at any time? How often do you put shows up there?
Well, we talked about this. I'm recovering from a concussion.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of hard to talk sometimes, but I'm there. So this week I'm going to put a lot more and beginning to post more podcasts and more Rumble videos than I did in the past. So usually it takes about a year before somebody recovers from this. Well, at least old people do, right? If you're a football player, you get hit in the head, you get a concussion, you're 15 years old, whatever, a couple of weeks, you're back to normal. But when you're 60, it's very tremendous.
Well, I think you're doing great.
Yeah.
So,
well, thank you.
This will help you recover. Absolutely. You do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm ready to charge back with the Patriot Cause, Rumble, Patriot Cause videos, and hopefully someday I will be able to be in the same realm as Donna and have a
You've already surpassed me by leaps and bounds. I'm just saying.
It would be awesome. It would be awesome.
You already have. You and I were talking. We always have a show before the show, you and I. And so there's a weirdness going on in the world, and it's not us. I know that it's being reported that way by the liberal media about JD, for instance. He's weird. I don't think he's weird at all. I think he's got it all together. It's the people sometimes who call people weird who are the weird ones.
Well, you have to look in their minds. You have to understand. And this is very interesting that conservative people are so mad and frustrated over this. And I think the reason is because the majority of us that are conservative do not understand their point of view, where they're coming from, how they were raised, how the communists, the world has infiltrated the United States going back to the 1920s. And so it upsets us when we hear what these people are talking about. But what you need to understand is this, is what they're saying to themselves is true. And a great example is Stalin said that at some point the truth becomes the lie. And this is where we're at. We're at a point where people think in their mind that what they're hearing especially on the mainstream news platforms, that the truth is coming out. We all know, if unless you disagree with me, which is fine, the media has been taken over by these people
Mhm.
that believe in what the writers and the producers are telling them.
Mhm.
So they're like sheep, right? They just do.
Unfortunately.
They have no ability to discern this information. Going, this doesn't make sense. They don't care, because in their minds, the lie is the truth. And how does that happen? Very, very simple. You have a choice. You know the truth, or you receive the truth of the world, right?
Mhm.
So those of us that are Christians and people that have rational ability in this world understand that is not the truth,
Mhm.
but that's the propaganda that they're pushing down on us. And it's unfortunate that millions of people in this country, through the education system, through the media, especially over the last 15, 20 years, have fallen into this abyss of evil, and they don't even know that they're there. Give an example.
Let me ask you a question, though, because you serve the country, and thank you
Yeah,
so much for doing that. We definitely appreciate that more than you'll ever know. That means a lot. Is this
thank
the
you.
country you thought you were helping to
No,
serve?
oh God, no, hell no, absolutely not. Matter of fact, when I was in the service, I seen the changes. For example, uh, a great friend of mine that's in our church, him and I talked yesterday about what's going on, right? So let's go back. I just want to take a few minutes to understand how this political world is involved, and Satan controls this. So go back to World War One. I know it sounds funny, Donna, but I'm going to take you back to that time frame. Woodrow Wilson. Think about that. And J.P. Morgan, right? J.P. Morgan had the mortgage on the Lusitania ship, right? And they purposely, along with Woodrow Wilson, sent that ship into the submarines of the Nazis. Well, it wasn't Nazis, but the Germans, when they could have circumvent and run around to be safe to deliver those people into Europe. 128 Americans died on that ship. That's all it took. Once that happened, then America got into World War One, and the mass majority of the citizens during that time frame says, "No, let them figure it out. Let them do what they need to do." And that's evil. That's Satan coming into a political heart because of money, right? Because as soon as we got into World War One, then the military industrial complex could be part of it and get tons of money.
Mhm.
This is back in World War One. Same thing, World War Two. We didn't get involved in the war until we were attacked in Pearl Harbor. because the American people said, no, we're not going to get involved in that. But then when that happened, now we had to get involved in World War II. And then the military complex, which virtually didn't exist before that, spun up manufacturing. And now, again, America is involved in a major war. And if you're don't understand it, war is not the answer to anything on the globe. Even though I spent 20 years supporting our country. And then you go back to George Bush starting the war in 2023 with Iran or Iraq and lying to American people of the mass destruction weapons that they had. Nope. All right, so I'm going to leave it at that. But I'm going to tell you this, is the U.S. military is taught, even today, even though I'm questioning about that, we support and defend the Constitution of America. But we have so many politicians in America that do not believe in the Constitution, including the vice president today. She's a full-blown socialist.
Mm-hmm.
She even said that I don't agree, I care less about the Constitution. So the point is, as a military person, I defended the Constitution of the United States, no matter where I went. Somalia, different places, right? Mm-hmm. So we have to look at how does the American people look at the situation. What they're seeing is we have a government that no longer cares about our country as citizens, as, you know, the little deplorable people.
Yeah.
What they care about is very simple. The big money. How do you get big money? You go to war, and this is what's happening. If I was an individual today, even at 18, I think I wouldn't join, because I would know in my heart that the military in America is not supporting and defending the Constitution.
Mm-hmm. You're spot on there. Remember my granddad talking about, back in the, before World War I, back in the 1800s, basically everybody owned their little business. They call them little cottage businesses.
Oh, absolutely.
You would have your specialty. You had the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. You had the person who did the horseshoes. I mean, you just had different people who had different specialties. And then they always blamed it. My granddad always blamed this on the Industrial Revolution, just like you just said. He always said that. He said America started going down when that happened. When we had the Industrial Revolution, and where everything, he said, because things are cheap made. There's a time when people put pride into, you made horseshoes, you made sure you made the best horseshoes of anybody on earth. You put a lot of pride in what you did. But now everything is just, it's just mass produced. And it's just, you buy your grandmother something for Christmas, you got to hope that your cousin over there didn't buy her the same thing at the big box store. And all of these things that we're living through right now. And I used to think that was just downright silly. I would think, why would that be the ruin of any civilization? I get it now.
Yep.
It's exactly like he said. It's playing out exactly the same way he said it. Whereas we have people who they go in not rich in the office. They come out and they are multi-millionaires.
Multi-millionaires.
I'm wondering how they do it on $80,000 a year. How do they do it on the $150 or whatever, $180,000 a year? You wonder how that is possible. Would that not, in the business world, Gunny, would that not be called the conflict of interest?
Oh, absolutely. Again, goes back to lobbyist stuff. So Donna, you made a very important point about Americans and mom and pops, and you know how America was uh, geared towards freedom of everybody. So you can have a business, you can do whatever you want, but you got to work at it, right? You got to earn it. Oh, did I mention that God said that? Be productive.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna shock you, maybe. Fort Payne, Alabama, used to be the U.S. capital of the hosiery industry. You know, socks and all that stuff, right? There's one company left in Fort Payne that does socks.
Mm-hmm.
So you're thinking, okay, business people, you know, I get it. They have to look at the bottom line, etc. But see, Woodrow Wilson and other politicians have allowed this connection between all of these other countries, China, Taiwan, Vietnam. In case you don't know it, we got a lot of stuff coming in through Vietnam to uh, to have a connection, so that the company executives and those people that develop that company in the day, as we would call it, now they're getting richer and richer off of the efforts, the very low paid efforts of individuals in these countries.
Well, I
And
want to bring you another point. Okay, Vietnam. Let's talk about that just for a minute.
okay,
Okay, who rebuilt? Who was in charge of rebuilding back Vietnam? There was a
China.
company, Lady Bird Johnson. Let's go ahead
Oh,
and put
well,
it
yeah,
in. Let's put
I
it in
got you.
Lady Bird's
Yep.
name. Let's put it in Lady Bird's name because she can be considered a woman in entrepreneur. She
Yeah,
can
but
be. Okay.
yep, but she was embedded with China and the communist regime.
Okay, my
Ho
point
Chi
is
Minh,
that should that not
right?
be considered in the real business world, in the real world that I'm in and that you're in? Would that not be considered a conflict of interest?
Absolutely, it is. But with what we're talking about is the elitists, the quote people that run the country. Well, wait a minute. We're the people. Are we not supposed to run our country? We lost that years and years ago.
Mm-hmm,
So now we have personal interest,
mm-hmm.
right? And what happens in history and what happens throughout the events. Guess what? Rome did the exact same thing. They went outside of their empire and started to change the business model, and it destroyed their country.
Well, back in the day, and again, I'm going back to the pre-industrial revolution, is where the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. Okay,
Right.
so it was a family-owned business,
Yeah.
and people commanded respect of you if you owned a business like that. If you made candles, you better make some that they're going to last. You better make
Oh,
some
yeah.
that are not going to be like junk. People took a great pride in that. I know some folks in Anniston, the Couches on Couches Jewelers. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Couch actually began this business back in I think it was the early 50s, and they treated it like a cottage business. It would almost make them cry if they thought somebody was unhappy with their product. I mean,
Absolutely.
they really took it to heart. And of course, now their kids are running it, and they raised them to do it the right way as well. But here's the point. Okay, so Miss Couch told us I was a member of a Rotary Club, the Morning Rotary Club in Anniston. I'm from that area originally. So I was at the meeting and she was asked to come speak to us. And I'm listening out what kind of tidbits, because I love people who are successful in business, started out with nothing, absolutely nothing, and made it big based on hard work. Nothing give to them. They worked hard. And so she was talking about, she said, "Oh, people just think we're rich." She said, "I often think back of the early days of the business when I didn't have enough money to meet payroll." She said it was either pay the employees and us do without. And she said, which
Right.
we always did. We always wanted to make sure that the employees got paid before we got paid. And she said, people are not doing that anymore. She said, people, they'll go borrow from the bank. She said, we didn't want to borrow any money. We wanted cash on it. Don't get into trouble. They called it on credit. She would say, we didn't want to buy anything on credit. I wish we could get back to that kind of wisdom with the people who they didn't want to go. Like I've seen people, Phil and I have owned several businesses, and we don't start out with the biggest furniture. We don't start out with the most expensive car, the most expensive supplies. We don't do that. We never have. We always followed the model of what you can afford. And that meant going getting secondhand stuff, secondhand desk. It didn't hurt anything. I would put a scratch on it anyway. Why buy anything new? So that's always been the business model we've had. But then you see people who just go out, especially if you're coming in from another country, you're going to get all kinds of grants that we can't get. I want to know what your opinion about that is, because you have people who have worked blood, sweat, and tears, their families, that they had nothing. They had dirt floors. I asked my grandparents one time, we came from school. Now, they've been teaching this thing for a long time. I graduated in 77. So I came in from school, got off the school bus at my grandparents' house, and I said, "What happened to our antebellum home?" And my grandmother looked at me like she thought I was crazy. She said, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "Well, a long time ago, all white people had plantations and they owned slaves." And she said, "Just sit down and we'll tell you something." She said, "I don't know where you're hearing that trash." She said, "We never had antebellum. She said, my ancestors had dirt floors." She said
Yeah.
she heard her grandmother talk about getting a broom sweeping the dirt floors. So,
Kind of reminds me of Somalia when I was sweeping my dirt floors in the desert.
yeah. Well,
But
there's been this big lie that's been told, and people are being taught these things in school, which is a bunch of nonsense. How can you unbreak that?
well, the first thing that American citizens need to understand, again, go back to education. Even our age group, for instance, right?
Mhm.
The administration and the conceptual idea of the world, not just China, Russia, Venezuela, all these things that are going on. What we have to understand is this very simple word. It's called equity, right? And what equity is the governments think that they can provide equal uh, lifestyles for all of these people, right?
Yeah.
So, for instance, like all of these migration people that are coming here, they have a hotel, they have $1,500 a month. These people are living better than a large majority of Americans.
Mhm.
But that's for a reason. That's to control the citizens, and the government says that you will be equal, whether you have the talents or the ability. Go back to mom and pops back in the day. To be successful, you work, you produce, and then as you progressed, right, your skills and your ability is what put you in a certain realm of, I don't want to use richness, but it's a realm of lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted a better lifestyle, then you improved. You got to a point to be improved. But what we're talking about is this communist socialist idea that has come into our country to purposely eliminate that ability to use your skills. So, great example. You're going to have kids that are going to graduate high school, right? And they're very smart people. They can go out and produce businesses and do things that are great for this nation. But using this equity thing, right? They're going to not only bring up the people that do not have those skills, they're going to push down on the ones that have those skills, because the balance of equity has to be from the top and the bottom. So you're saying, well, wait a minute, Gunny, what the hell are you talking about? The people that are coming out of college are dumb as a box of rocks for a purpose, to rebalance that equity. China did this. Russia did this. And you have to understand, we are in that same environment. probably around 48 is when China turned into communists. They eliminated millions of people because they had the skills to farm and do things, and they didn't want them to be better than the rest of the people. Same thing in the Soviet Union. And what I have a hard time understanding in our country today is that we don't realize that. I started my podcast 4 years ago for this purpose, to bring people to understand that we have evil forces in the government, in legislation, in states, pick them, California, whatever. But the point is, we have people that are absolutely convinced that this is how the world should be, to make it utopia. And what is unfortunate to me is this, is the United Nations and organizations like that, the World Economic Forum, right? Those people are engaged in changing the globe itself into this, quote, utopia world. They want to eliminate millions and millions, if not billions, of people from this planet, so they can have what they would call a peaceful life in the world, right?
A house that's a world that's not so peaceful. We're going to have to go into a commercial break, and we'll be right back in just a minute. You hold that thought, okay? We'll be right back.
Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityyusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant.
You ask and we listen. We're finally bringing the most requested offer ever. Get the queen size premium MyPillow, now only $19.98. MyPillow is made with patented adjustable fill. It adjusts to your exact individual needs regardless of your sleep position. It helps keep your neck aligned and holds its shape all night long so you get the best sleep of your life. But that's not all. Get our 6-piece kitchen or bath towel sets only $25. Our brand new mattress topper as low as $69.98. Get our famous MyPillow bed sheets for as low as $25 and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get huge discounts on all MyPillow products, including the premium queen size MyPillow, only $19.98. That's the lowest price ever. Don't delay, order today. From all of us here at MyPillow, thanks America!
Good afternoon. We're back. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters, whether it hurts or not. We're out there for it. You can find us on the radio at iacradio.media, where we are Fox News affiliates. You can also find us on television, syndicated on Abundance Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Also, this wonderful podcast with wonderful talk show hosts like Gunny out there who's telling it like it is. And that is on the Newscasters Studio, the newscasters.com. But thank you so much for watching. Gunny, you're speaking the truth, dude. And I'm just telling you where I saw a lot of things happening, even when I was in grammar school. Now that I can look back, this is nothing that just started 10 years ago. This has been going on for a very long time, where that everybody gets a trophy. I think that's the dumbest move ever. That's taking away ambition. They're not even going to have class valedictorians anymore. That was something you could always push for and work forward to. And this generation coming up now doesn't have that luxury. It's not fair to them.
No, the thing about how the socialist idea works, right? And it's very important we understand this, is there is a structure of people in this environment, whether it's in education system, government, banking, etc. See, they know better for you, right? Yeah. Well, there was a day when your parents knew better for you, right? And your parents drove you to progress and to do things and to work hard. See, the government no longer requires people to work hard and progress. So they're taking all of these awards away from individuals that are, I hate to say it, better at what they do than you are. Right? And I guarantee you the best way to explain this is through our pastor this last week opened my eyes to understand it. See, God put you on this planet to do something, right?
Got a purpose. You've got a purpose.
You got a purpose. Now that purpose might be a billionaire. That purpose might be a dig ditcher. That purpose might be a missionary, right? And this is how you glorify God. But see, what's happening is the world hates that concept because we're glorifying God in our abilities. No, they want you to glorify them. And if you do that, then they're going to tell you where you fit in this world. And that's how simple it is. Unfortunately, many of our young people that are coming up do not realize that. They're not taught that in school. I was taught that in school.
Yeah.
Not that God told me to progress and be better, but the school taught me to do that. You do good in education. You pass the test. You go, take honor classes. Then you're going to do great things. You're going to be an Einstein. Great way to say it, right? Mm-hmm. But if you're lazy and you don't care, well, guess what? You're going to graduate, but it is what it is. But even though you don't go to college, even though you're not a person that kind of fits in that realm, you are loved by God, and you're going to find a place where you fit in this world. Cashier at a bank. And people, my mom did this for 15 years, where she was a cashier at a store, and she absolutely loved it. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying, Donna? Mm-hmm. You don't have to be a gazillionaire to be happy. You just have to accept what God has given you. And this is the issue we're dealing with. We're dealing with evil people that want to control your life and how you progress. They will tell you, oh, he graduated from Harvard. Okay, so he can go up. Right? Oh, you never made it out of high school, so you're going to be in the bottom crowd, and we're just going to feed you what you need to stay alive. China, for example, they guarantee housing. Think about what I'm telling you. They give every citizen in their country housing for free. Education for free. All these things. Transportation for free. But explain to me, very simple, do the math, go out there and research it. 70% of China and their population is poor. Mm-hmm. Because the leaders of the country has promoted and given so many people, the advances and left out purposely. So there's no middle class in China. You're poor or you're filthy rich.
Well, that's what they're wanting here. And so, I mean, it's so evident. But if you've been blessed to have lived in the 60s and the 70s like I did, where my parents would go somewhere and leave the door unlocked. They would actually go to bed, leave the keys in the car, and not lock the car door. Those little things. We could go outside. We could go play. We could do. We had to be home by 6 so we could have supper. But what I mean is there was none of this being. Now kids are trapped inside the house, and what are they doing when they're trapped inside the house? They're on the computer looking at porn. They're watching stupid news that just a bunch of nonsense that's out there right now. There was a time when your teacher, your parents, and your grandparents wanted you to be the best you could possibly be. But parents are so busy working 2 jobs now instead of having their cottage business where the family could be together. Instead of all those things, they're so busy trying to work up but you have to think around all of these things. See, I had this opportunity back when my son was about 7 years old. And I had this opportunity to go with a company. I would have been in New York. It would have been a nice, powerful job. I would have been in Trump Towers. So Phil and I get married. And Phil said, that's going to be a great opportunity. And you do what you feel like you need to do. He said, but think about one thing. You got to think about Brad. You want Brad raised in New York. I'm just saying, think about it.
No, right.
I would have
Absolutely.
never, okay, all of that money would have been spent taking him out of prison, probably, having him rehabilitated. There would have been so many. Well, I would have
Oh,
never
yeah.
seen a dime of that. Then you had to kind of keep up with the Joneses. You would have to have spent all this money on clothes. You would have had to have had this penthouse that you would have been in debt for forever. And it's just, when you do the math, I'm not talking about Common Core math. I'm talking about walking around.
Reality.
When you do the math, those things sometimes just don't add up.
Yeah. Yep.
Even though it looks pretty and you've been painted a beautiful picture, it's not pretty at all when you think about the aftermath.
No, it's not.
Chose not to take it.
Well, give you an example. I have 2 children. I have a son that has four children, and this this is awesome. The reason I say it just fits right in what we're talking about. So my son has a sociology degree from Virginia Tech. His wife has a master's degree from Kansas State, geology. Her first job coming out of college years ago was she got paid $120,000 right out of college. Now, today, they live in the Appalachian Mountains in Tennessee, right? I keep calling it the Blue Ridge Mountains, but it's not. Smoky Mountains, that's it, right? And she is full-time housewife, full-time home education for her children.
Smartest kids on earth are the
Absolutely.
kids.
I got my grandkid. Matter of fact, it amazes me. Absolutely amazes me the difference of a 6-year-old and what they're capable of.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that example. Now let's use the other one. My daughter is a architect in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I love her to death. Don't get me wrong. But her kids are raised in the same environment that you're talking about. Right? And what I hate is what's going to happen. As these young kids, they're being raised by the education system.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's full-time architect. I mean, imagine if you're an architect, you ain't got time to.
And I've lived in Charlotte, so I know how Charlotte can be.
Yep. Yeah. And the point is, these kids are reaching or going into junior high age, right? And eventually in the high school.
Come back when they
can't.
Kind of education, they're going to grow up that way. It's going to take an act of Congress to get them to move the other direction.
Yep. Well, my daughter went to UNC Charlotte, and she was very conservative. I raised my kids appropriately. I guarantee you I did. If they did something bad, I took care of it. I didn't physically abuse them. Mm-hmm. I verbally abused them many times for a certain reason, as you know, because they need to hear the truth. But the point is, when she went to college for 6 years, when she came out, that was not the daughter. She went to church. Before college, she believed in God, all of those things. So one day I was talking to her, probably about 7 or 8 years after she graduated, and we were having this discussion, and there was this show on TV where you had two gay guys, you know, going to buy a house,
Yeah.
right? I got up off the couch and I walked away and I couldn't watch it. So she said, Dad, what's the matter with you? I'm like, look, I'm not going to watch this show. And she goes, why not? I says, because it's wrong. End the conversation. So a couple minutes later, I looked at my daughter and I says, let me ask you something. What happens when you die? Remember, she grew up in a church environment, right? She said, well, I think we're going to be reincarnated.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I mean, well, can you imagine how I felt? Can you imagine how my heart broke? That this is the wonderful lady I raised? This is what the world does. They take good and destroy it. This is what Satan does. And it's enveloped in virtually every education system that we have. And we think that, back in the day, Donna and I, when we went to school, our parents ruled us, not the school. The school taught us education, information, those kind of things. They didn't teach us morals. There was morals in the school. If you went outside of, you fought with somebody, etc., they took care of that. But all of this other stuff didn't exist.
Well, we had reading, writing, and arithmetic. And that was the basics. And you've got to have those basics to survive. There was none of this. It's okay for you to be confused at what gender you are. That's okay. As a matter of fact, we're going to put your parents in jail if they say that you can't get the surgery to have yourself reversed, if that's what you think you are today. And here's another issue. They'll let people come and speak on campuses who are glad they had their sex operation, but they won't show they won't let the ones come who've regretted having it done, who have thought about suicide. They won't let that out there. There's a reason. It's all by design, just like you've been saying.
70 to 80%. Go out there. I'm not telling you to listen to Bud. I'm telling you to research it, to understand it. Right? Do your research. I'm guarantee you 70 to 80% of these people that go into this world, they do one of two things. They kill themselves through suicide, or they finally realize the mistakes they made and they're in hell. They realize it, they come back, and they understand the mistakes that they made. But if you change your body, you have to deal with that. Mm-hmm. And it's very hard for a person that realizes what has happened to them as a individual, right? Your soul is connected to your body. And when your body changes, your soul either is great and accepts what's going on, or it fights against it. And when they realize that my soul is in trouble because of what I did to my body, then it's very difficult for these people to live. I have a tremendous heart for all of these people that have been subject to what has happened to them in this world, and they have to face every day waking up on the mistakes that they
Well,
made.
in order to go with the agenda that's out there, these kids are killing themselves. They're being abused, is what's happening out
Yep.
there. So let me ask you a question. In light of the Olympics that happened, and what happened where the girl was beat almost to death by the man who was competing against her. So I know you love your daughter with a passion. I know you do, and I'm pretty sure you'd take a bullet for her. So let's just pretend she had been through years of training in the Olympics to be a boxer. So this guy comes in, puts on high heels, pretends he's a woman and all these, but we know he's still a man. Would you have let your daughter go into that competition knowing who she would be fighting against?
Nope, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Matter of fact, I think I would want to think that we would have a conversation about that, and she would have realized the absolute physical power of this man. But thing about it is, there's two parts to this. There's the guy that the Olympic Committee allowed in to fight women.
Yeah.
And then you have the women that want to compete, right? And I know this is strange, but this is what I believe. I think that this woman thought she had the capability to defeat that person.
Well, she found out in just a few seconds that she didn't have it. She had to
Right.
give it up.
No, absolutely. But see, if you're an athlete, been there, done that, football, baseball, different athletes. I hate to say this in a wrong way, but it's the best way to say it. I was the man. I was good. You get it, right? I was on the top of the world. Nothing's going to take me down.
Mm-hmm.
This is the same way that these athletes are. They spend years in their lives to get to that point, and they're not going to allow anything in the world to stop them to continue that effort that they did. And I think this woman, I really believe this. I think she said, no problem. I'll take care of that person.
Yeah.
I'll handle it. And unfortunately, it didn't work out that way.
Well, let me ask you a question, because we've been talking about politicians. Okay, and they already have all of the money in the whole wide world. You could never spend it all, ever. So is this more about money, or is this more about power? Your opinion?
So I go back to what I was talking about, worshiping money or worshiping God. So if you worship money, how do you get more money? Through power, right? Through some type of environment. So for instance, Donald Trump is a multi-billionaire type person. And he had power going through that process. He still has power. But the difference is he doesn't portray that power in his corporation world.
But here's what I say to people who say that Trump is just this bad, that's the difference between people having ambition. It's okay, I think, to have ambition. There's a difference between him having ambition and then other people like your Bidens who get it through drug cartels or wherever the heck they can get it.
Well, the thing about it is Trump's different. Trump earned his way through that power structure.
Yeah.
Right? But a lot of politicians do not. They get elected. Matter of fact, some of them, Biden would say, right, grew up poor and all that stuff.
Yeah, bull. Yeah.
I don't believe that. But anyway, there really is people that get elected that come out of poverty.
Well, you're looking at J.D. Vance, who had absolutely nothing.
Nothing. He's a Marine like me. He did the same thing I did, but now he's a politician. But the point is they forget that they were real, right? Mm-hmm. And they go into this swamp politician world and are influenced through this massive money. And money drives power, and power drives money. And it's unfortunately for our country. Think about what I'm telling you. Remember, you're talking about how much a senator. By the way, they get about $250,000 a year now, right? Yeah. So 4 years, or no, 6 years, you do as a senator, right? Mm-hmm. So you're going to have $3 million that you got paid. Doesn't mean you're going to have $3 million in the bank. This is what you got paid.
You got expenses. You got to pay rent. You got to buy a house. You got to buy groceries. You got to buy clothes.
After 6 years, they come out and they're worth $10 million or $20 million.
No way. There is no way. If it's done the right way, that's impossible, because you have to have the right clothes now to have that position. Here's what's happening. Okay, so I think they forgot that we hire them. It's not the other way around. We hire them if it's done the correct way.
Yeah, you keep thinking about that.
Wonder about the integrity of the voting system. Yeah.
You keep thinking about that. We do not hire them. The Republican Party and the Democrat Party hires them.
Yeah.
Now think about this is
Kamala Harris.
Yep. Well, hang on a second. This is the best example of what I'm talking about. Abraham Lincoln was a lawyer in Illinois, right? He worked hard, created a business. They talked him into becoming a candidate for the president of the United States. Mm-hmm. Now, in his mind, he's like, okay, I'm going to go over there. I'm going to do 4 years, and I'll come back and be part of Illinois, right? That was in his mind. This is how it was back then. But that's not how it is today. Because, there was parties, Republican or whatever, but they didn't have this mass money, this lobbying. See, Lincoln was voted by the people in his state that knew him and trusted him to go into the government, even though he didn't want to. Mm-hmm. That's the difference. We no longer have, and a great, perfect example, there was a retired officer in Alabama that ran against Senator.
We got 1 minute. 1 minute.
Okay. He ran against this senator. She won because the Republican Party put her in that place. Mm-hmm. And he was the normal guy.
Yeah.
And he didn't win. It's that simple.
That happens all the time.
All the time.
Because there are some people who have no walking around gum chewing sense who are actually in our politics right now, because they are yes people and they'll do what the powers above them tell them to do.
Amen.
And they get paid. Take an AC out of New York. She doesn't. I remember seeing a video of her. She didn't even know what a disposal was in your sink. And then she went on this tramp just one time about seeds. You mean I can plant this and it turns into a tomato? Wow. Yeah, we want people like that running the country. Yeah, please give me.
Yeah, you and I can have a whole hour of discussion.
Just on that.
Absolutely.
Hours. It sure can. Gunny, we're going to have to go. Thank you so much for being. The time flies. Thank you so much for being on the show. I want you to hang around because I got to make sure I've got you in the books, okay, for next month.
Love you, dear.
Love
Absolutely.
You. All right, guys, I love you. Thank you so much for watching. You are the reason we do this every day. We want to get word out there for you to know the truth. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to Gunny. Do your own research. But
Amen.
Don't listen to CNN, whatever you do, and some of the others. We'll be talking to you later. Bye-bye.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer.
Yes.
Begin your future. at Northeast Alabama Community College.